In late 2023, the FCC targeted a Latin music pirate radio station in the Bronx, shattering their operation with a staggering $2.3 million fine. 10 miles south in Manhattan, any local resident can walk into a television center equipped with millions of dollars in broadcast gear and transmit their own show across the city, completely legally and for free. We have two distinct local media ecosystems operating in the exact same city. Broadcasting on one triggers federal raids and financial ruin, while using the other is a protected civic right. The reason for this legal paradox is that the broadcast spectrum is New York City's most fiercely contested real estate, and the fight over who gets to occupy it began over a century ago. New York is the birthplace of wireless broadcasting. In 1898, inventor Nikola Tesla demonstrated a radio-controlled boat at Madison Square Garden. A year later, Guglielmo Marconi transmitted live updates of the Emeritus Cup yacht races across the New York harbor. Amateurs quickly built their own transmitters, resulting in completely unregulated signals that jammed each other out. Following a series of maritime disasters where rescue signals were blocked by this amateur traffic, Congress passed the Radio Act of 1912, requiring a federal license for anyone operating a transmitter. This animated model shows the government dividing the raw radio frequency spectrum, assigning massive, protected blocks to the military and wealthy corporate networks. The commission then shuttered dozens of small community-run transmitters, ensuring only well-funded broadcasters survived. By the late 1920s, dozens of New York's local stations were battling for space, only to be purged in a series of federal licensing cleanups. This left a city full of immigrant communities and political activists who had the equipment to speak, but no longer had a legal frequency to call their own. For those determined to be heard, the path forward required either navigating a complex legal loophole or operating entirely in the shadows. The loophole arrived in 1965 with the release of the Sony Portapak. For the first time, individuals had physical access to portable video cameras, allowing them to record their own neighborhoods. As private companies began digging up New York streets to lay heavy coaxial cables for paid television, community organizers saw an opening. They lobbied city politicians to withhold the necessary franchise contracts until the cable monopolies agreed to a trade. If we watch how this plays out in our network diagram, you can see the result. The city mandated that cable providers split off specific lines, public, educational, and government channels, known as PEG, and wire them directly back to the citizens for local use. The city enforced a strict first-come, first-served rule with zero corporate censorship. By the late 1970s, downtown artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat were broadcasting their own raw, chaotic programs on channels like TV Party. Activists successfully leveraged physical city infrastructure to democratize television. But radio had no physical cables to leverage. Look at this map of the FM dial in the 1990s. The Telecom Act of 1996 allowed massive corporations to merge and buy up stations, homogenizing the dial and eliminating the last few independent slots. Completely boxed out, activists rebelled. In 1995, a collective of squatters on the Lower East Side wired a 12-watt transmitter and launched Steal This Radio, directly defying the FCC. This micro-radio movement spread quickly. Haitian, Dominican, and West African communities in Brooklyn and the Bronx ordered cheap DIY transmitters and began setting up rooftop antennas to broadcast news and music in their native languages. Returning to our spectrum diagram, the FCC did attempt to compromise in the year 2000 by creating a low-power FM class for community groups, but commercial broadcasters lobbied Congress to impose strict spacing rules, meaning the new legal stations simply bounced off the corporate blocks in dense cities like New York. The government denied marginalized communities a legal entry point to the airwaves. The inevitable result was a sprawling, untraceable, illegal network. Congress escalated the radio war in 2020 by passing the Pirate Act. Fines for unlicensed broadcasting jumped to $2 million, and federal agents were empowered to penalize the landlords hosting the antennas. At the exact same time, the COVID-19 pandemic hit New York. Legally protected public access producers and highly illegal radio pirates both pivoted immediately, leveraging podcasts and streams to broadcast critical public health updates and mutual aid information to their isolated listeners. Today, the city sustains a functional duality. millions of dollars in cable access funding, protect a legal space for video producers, while FCC agents continue to hunt dozens of illicit radio DJs across the 5 boroughs. Both groups exist to solve the exact same problem. When people realize mainstream networks are ignoring their neighborhoods, they build their own microphones.